honestly, like, I'm a weirdly good actor. Like randomly, like I don't want to toot my own horn, but if anybody's seen me act, you probably realize I can act. I've had several parts in several things, like Blue Bloods, and also Omerta. Obviously, was a independent movie. I'm also in that series called Gravesend, which is on Prime. Although they killed me in that series, and
How
I've been on a few other things.
how'd they kill you?
Um, they shot me. They got me. They got rid of me. Yeah, but I was the main protagonist in the very first episode. Anyway, when it comes to Sopranos, the funny thing is when I got a story. I turned pro when The Sopranos was hot. I turned pro in 2001. That's in the midst of the Sopranos era. Matter of fact, at my pro debut, there was several Sopranos actors there because it was an HBO card.
I think Paulie was
Um,
there, right?
Paulie, Artie Bucco, like I said, several of them. I don't remember now, but I remember there was a good amount of them that were there because it was also an HBO card that I turned pro on the undercard. It was underneath Jesse James Leija versus Hector Camacho Jr. That was my pro debut card, and I remember signing with DeBella Entertainment before returning pro, and DeBella had just left his position as executive president or something, a vice president of HBO Sports. So one of the selling points he gave me, which turned out to be bullshit, mind you, was that he still got connections at HBO, and through his connections at HBO, he can turn me into a star. Basically, everybody's trying to sell you. And I'm a 19, 20-year-old kid, so I'm listening to this, and he's like, "I can get you on Sopranos." He told me, like you look like you could be in Sopranos, and at that age, I did look like. He goes, I can get you on some episodes of Sopranos because of my HBO connections and all this other stuff. And bro, for me, 19, 20 years old, being from Bensonhurst, in the midst of the Sopranos era, like my whole neighborhood on Sunday nights was watching the Sopranos episode. So for me, that was like the biggest deal. I was like, wow. It's like, and at that time, you're very impressionable. You believe what everybody promises you. A few years into your pro career, you realize most people are full of shit. But at that time, you're like, wow. It's like, so I went home and told everybody, bro, the guy I'm gonna sign with, he's gonna get me on Sopranos, bro. You kidding me? This is gonna be amazing. Obviously, it never happened, and he never even attempted it, mind you. But the Sopranos actually lasted till 2006, I believe. So there was definitely plenty of opportunities to get me on there if he would have made an effort. But
I
that
could have
was
seen you and Jackie Jr.'s crew, like running around with
yeah,
Jackie
yeah, that could have
Jr.
been, because think about it. Like I'm friends with Lilo Brancato. Lilo was in there before he got in some trouble, and it was post Bronx Tales. He had Jackie
Yeah.
Jr. That's funny. I hung out with him a couple of times too. The kid who played Jackie Jr. He used to be out in the nightclub scene in New York in those days. Um, he was you know. He was a fun kid to be around. Again, it was. I don't think it would have been that difficult to do because I had the look.
Hmm.
And I was an up and coming, New York boxing prospect with the accent and the look and everything else. But you got to give an effort, and most people, like I said, most couple of years into your pro career, you realize most people are full of shit anyway.
And you met Tony Sirico a few times.
Yeah, he was a big boxing fan. Sirico actually loved Miguel Cotto, mind you. Sirico, he might have been Italian. He was from Bensonhurst, but his favorite fighter was Miguel Cotto. Sirico loved Miguel Cotto. Every time I spoke to Tony, every time he always mentioned my fight with Cotto, but he also always be raving about Cotto and how much he loved watching him fight. So,
What'd he
Sirico was
say?
a big. I mean, he talked about my fight. I showed a lot of, the typical show a lot of heart. That was some fight to be at, yada yada yada. Guy from the neighborhood.
That's so cool.
It's cool. That's a guy from the neighborhood to be in the garden, in Madison Square Garden against a guy like Cotto, so on and so forth. But then he would also go on and discuss like other Cotto fights. He really loved watching Miguel Cotto. He was a big fan of Cotto.
That's just surreal having Paulie
Yep.
Walnuts tell you, "Hey kid, you're pretty good." But
Yeah.
this Puerto
I mean,
Rican.
he's from Bensonhurst, Tony. Tony
Most
was
of, I
from my
mean, so
neighborhood.
is Bobby Bacala. Most of them are.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't know everybody there, but Tony was like literally a Bensonhurst street guy. Like before he was an actor, I think he did some jail time and everything else. So he was, Tony, by the way, is Paulie Walnuts. His real name was Tony Sirico, but yeah. So he
They
was,
also at the beginning of Goodfellas, they say his real name at the beginning of Goodfellas.
oh yeah.
They
Oh, I
say,
didn't.
yeah, they use his real name at the beginning of Goodfellas when they're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
all the
Because
wise
he's on the
guys.
street when Paulie didn't have to move for anybody. That scene.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
We're
He's in the
getting
street. You did it. You did it. Oh, you did it.
we're getting Billion McGregor comments. You know it's on site, right?
What McGregor comments is on site?
No, it's like, well, you're gonna fight McGregor. You know, you see him. It's on site, right?
I mean, listen. you'd want it to be that way, but I think at this point in my life, there was a time where it was on site. I think at this point in my life, it's probably like whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna. I've already burned enough bridges in my professional career here, trying to get work and trying to do this. If I do it on site with McGregor, it's really gonna burn a lot of bridges, But no, I'm not the fan of McGregor. I think he's full of shit. And I think if you're dumb enough to believe his story at this point, then you're not even worth taking the time to explain it to. Because I think anybody with a common sense knows that the whole story was fabrication on his part.
Well, he had a crazy weekend, and so did boxing.
Yeah.
What did we see this weekend that stood out, and what do you want to take away?
Well, it was a good entertaining boxing. I mean, first of all, Usyk is definitely in the GOAT conversation. I don't think
I think, yeah.
you'll ever establish it for sure, but I think Usyk for sure cements himself in the GOAT conversation. And I think when it comes to the heavyweight division, I don't know what everybody else at home thinks, but I think it's going to be Usyk, Ali, and Lennox, not in any particular order, but those three kind of are separate from the rest of them. And people might say, "Oh, Joe Louis, 25 defenses, and so on and so forth." But I'm one of those people that feels like the boxing of those days was so prehistoric that it was lacking in a lot of ways. But Lewis was excellent for his era, but I think the boxing of those days was a little bit slower paced and not as advanced. But I think the like I said, as far as all time heavyweights, and there are some great all time heavyweights that I'm not mentioning, but I think that these three really separate themselves from the rest. Pretty strongly, and I feel like that's Ali, Usyk, and Lennox, and then, like I said, not in any particular order.
Not in any particular order, but
Because it's difficult to put them in any particular order. And then people get mad at you, and it's not that I care. Obviously, not that I care that people get mad at me, but it's really difficult. It's really difficult to give them a particular order, because you have an argument for any of those three, really. But I think those three top the rest. With actually, what is it? Honorable mention to a guy like Tyson Fury, who at 6'9" would have given anybody trouble anyway.
But Usyk been twice, knocked him
Yeah.
down.
Well,
That 10th round was
that's why he's not
tenth
included
round
in
was
those top three.
everything, and then
That's why
the
he's not included in those
Wilder,
top three.
and then there's that that questionable Wilder when he gets up off that count.
Yeah, no, I mean that's not questionable. He won that fight easy. He got almost knocked out, but
Okay.
he boxed Wilder's ears off even that night, and that was
All right.
I don't know. That's questionable if you want to make it questionable, but I think that's a bit of a reach.